welcome to part 2, another episode, however you'd like to phrase it, of the Matt Bernier Show, part of the In the Money Media Network. My name is Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. Today is Thursday, still December the 21st, 2023. I don't know which episode this is, what number, and it doesn't really matter because it is more part 2 of that other episode that you probably just listened to. You're hearing the car again because my workday at Gulfstream is over. I'm now headed home, and I'm saying home. We are going back to the apartment, and we are going to see Santa Claus. This is big because my daughter in the past has not done great with men that aren't me. And now we're going to bring her to a strange old man. Love Santa, but strange old man. So we'll see how that goes. But that's what's on deck this evening. And if you happen to hear navigation in the background, you know what's ongoing. This part of the pod is going to be considerably different, and I don't know how long it will be. It may be very brief, or I may just ramble on. But I've been doing these sort of shows for, let's call it the better part of 10 years now. 8 or 9 years, going all the way back to the Daily Racing Form when we started the Players Podcast. And then that morphed into me doing my own pod and, taking a bit of a break once everything wrapped up with the Racing Form, and then bringing it back again within the Money Media.
Head northwest towards Seabiscuit Trail.
The one thing that I absolutely don't ever want to be the case with the pod is complacency. Maybe that's not the correct word, but I don't ever want it to feel half-assed. And I think there have not been many instances. I can probably count on one hand this year. But there have been a few instances where I felt, after I was done recording, in my head, I was like, you know what, you're pushing it there. Borderline. Passable, not your best. And for that to happen more than once leaves me feeling not great in general. There are a number of things going on, both personally and professionally. But the schedule I've kept this year with my work with FanDuel, along with this, the pod couldn't help but be done at the end of days or in hotel rooms without the video and a number of different pieces. And I don't ever want it to just get to a point where it's happening just for the sake of happening. I don't think that does anyone any good. You, as the listener, deserve better. And I think, for me, I don't ever... You may not like me. You may not like my opinions, this, that, or the other. But the one thing that I can confidently say is, if you don't like me and you say it's because I'm not prepared or I haven't done my work, then I think you're just a jackass. Because that's not the case. Whether it's this, whether it's my work, certainly my work on FanDuel, I put the time in, the preparation, and if I fear that I don't have not the capability, but just the mental juice to do the appropriate job, then I don't think it should go on anymore. So this is a long-winded way of saying PTF and I had a conversation about a week ago, maybe a little more than a week ago now. And it felt like my deal within the money was up at the end of this year. And it felt like this was a good opportunity for us to let's hit stop. Now, Pete was very much in the camp and of the idea of don't call it the end, call it the end of a season. And because that's his request, I will say that. But I can say fairly confidently that this is not all of a sudden going to be an instance where I take a few weeks off and the pod comes back. In my heart of hearts, I said it when we restarted during COVID, at the very beginning of COVID, when I hooked back up with Pete and In the Money, I said, if I stop it, I don't think I'm ever going to start it again. You never say never, but I think now is a good clean break, a good opportunity to hit the stop button on this show. I don't know how listeners or folks that used to watch the show will feel about this, and am I thrilled to be stopping? No, I've enjoyed doing this. It's a different form of media where it allows me to just kind of riff, and you don't necessarily get to do that in written form unless it's more of a blog, and you don't get to do that in television form unless there's a lot of dead space between races or anything like that. But that doesn't usually happen. So I've always appreciated this opportunity to kind of just speak what's top of mind for me. I listen to Ryan Russillo a lot. He's probably my favorite person in sports in terms of his execution, and I find myself agreeing with many of the things that he says. But that part aside, I believe he said this is a very personal form of media where it's effectively a conversation that the host is having with the listener. And I don't ever want it to come off as I'm just taking for granted that people are going to listen. And Pete understands that. And there are other reasons that we don't need to get into. But I think now is a good time to kind of at the very least, put a pin in the show, if not close the door. So it's been an important part of not just my professional life, but my personal life. For so long, the amount of people that have come up to me at tracks that have said, love the pod, this, that, and the other, it means a great deal to me. It's not something I take lightly, and it's certainly not something that I ever want people to think I'm just doing for the sake of doing, because I'm not. It was something I greatly enjoyed. You're about to hear a siren go by. I promise I didn't arrange this. But yeah, there's the siren, all right. So this is a long-winded way of saying that this is the end of this show for now. Let's say the foreseeable future. I don't envision picking this up again anytime soon, if at all. But Pete requested I keep a willingness to be willing, and I think everyone should be willing and open-minded, just in life in general, but especially when it comes to professional things. So it's been a fun 9 years doing this sort of thing, and it's going to be very odd when I don't have a show to record. And it doesn't mean I won't be on In the Money media, whether it's pod form or video form. There's still plenty of stuff to talk about, and Pete and I have agreed I will certainly be back as a guest in some fashion on some show. But I think as far as my show is concerned, this show, it's probably time to put a pin in it, if not close the door.
Exit the traffic circle onto US
I just want to say thank you to everyone that has listened throughout the years. Again, this goes all the way back to Pete and I having a conversation back at the Racing Forum, along with Mike Hogan, the idea of a podcast. There weren't many racing podcasts. I believe there may have been one at the time, and then we got the green light from management, and we started that. And after a while, I had that sort of desire to see if I could do it on my own, in addition to, not necessarily because I didn't want to do the Players Podcast anymore, but because I wanted to challenge myself. I was 24, 25 years old, and I loved, again, I listened to Ryan Russillo, I loved Dan Patrick, and I wanted to just give it a go. And that turned into my show with the Racing Form, and then it turned into this show here for the past, call it, better part of, 3 years, proper 3 years. So yeah, I don't have anything else really to say other than there's no ill will. I hope everything continues on a great path for In the Money. And I'll be back, but I think it's time. My fear is that this show has run its course, and Pete was very adamant that he didn't believe that. For all the reasons I've already kind of touched on, I think this may be a time to, let's turn the page, sort of thing. So a big thank you to Peter Thomas Fornatel. Thanks to Jonathan Kinchin. Thanks to everyone, Drew Coatney, everyone associated with In the Money Media. Thanks to my employer, FanDuel, for allowing me to continue on doing this. And thank you, most importantly, to all of you that listen and download and you name it. Without you all, none of this works. So you guys are the ones that drove this thing for the better part of the past 9 years. And who knows? Maybe someday this will be back, but I think for the foreseeable future, the Matt Bernier Show is gonna go away. Thank you again, and in an odd way, I'll save for the final time. Although we'll save for the final time with an asterisk. Best of luck, however you play, whatever you play, and wherever you play. This has been the Matt Bernier Show.